at a tournament in Council Bluffs, Iowa. The Minnesota Magic are far from home. As the 16 and under team ties up the game, the team's assistant coach and scorekeeper, Matt Ricker, watches from the sidelines. A man who just a decade ago was a registered sex offender.
It's gross, it's disgusting, and it needs to stop. It's not okay.
He's not a danger to any of the children in our program.
In 2007, police arrested Ricker in St. Paul. Court documents reveal the then assistant basketball coach at Hill Murray High School sent sexually explicit text messages to 3 players. One text to a 16-year-old read, "How big is your expletive?" The criminal complaint states Ricker sent this graphic request to another player, in which Ricker offered to perform oral sex. Later that same year, Ricker pleaded guilty to aggravated harassment. At his sentencing, he apologized to the players, telling the judge, "I intend to and will get the treatment and help that I need to get back to where I once was." Ricker was sentenced to 30 days in the Ramsey County Workhouse and 10 years probation. During that time, he was required to register as a sex offender and couldn't have any unsupervised contact with minors.
You were convicted, you did time.
4 years ago, Ricker completed his probation, which means he can legally be around children. But 5 investigates found he has been banned from coaching by the Amateur Athletic Union, commonly known as AAU, and by the U.S. Center for Safe Sport. That's the national nonprofit created by Congress to protect hundreds of thousands of athletes competing in close to 50 different sports, including USA Basketball. According to the national database, Ricker is one of 21 coaches in Minnesota that Safe Sport lists as permanently ineligible to coach minors.
And he's still coaching.
Jennifer Nuttall's son Dio joined the Minnesota Magic this year.
Hardworking, great kid.
Dio never played for Ricker, but he decided to leave the program last month after learning about Ricker's past.
I just think it's wrong. That shouldn't be done. If someone does something like that, they shouldn't be in control of kids, period, at all, no matter what.
We have a couple of questions about Matt Ricker we'd like to ask you.
John Sherman is the director of the Minnesota Magic, a prominent traveling basketball program in Minnesota that's been around for more than 30 years. He oversees a dozen teams that compete on courts across the state and out of the state. Sherman and Ricker both worked for the Minnesota Magic prior to 2007, but Sherman acknowledged he brought Ricker back on as an assistant coach 3 years ago.
Are you aware Matt Ricker is banned by Safe Sport from coaching?
By where?
By Safe Sport from coaching?
No, I'm not aware of Safe Sport doing anything like that. I have no notice.
What do you say to parents who find out what's happened in the past and are concerned about him being around their children?
If there was a concern in the legal system, he would be banned from being around youth.
He is, though, from Safe Sport. He's permanently ineligible to coach basketball.
Safe Sport is not the government, is it? Is it the court system?
What does a permanent ineligibility from Safe Sport mean to you? What should it mean to organizations?
It should mean that individual should never be able to coach anybody that is a minor.
Dawson Blank helped launch Trusted Coaches, a training program that advocates to use the Safe Sport guidelines. Even though those guidelines only apply to organizations affiliated with USA Sports, Blank says they should be followed by all teams.
If a coach is banned by Safe Sport, permanently ineligible to coach, should they be coaching any youth team, any youth club?
As a best practice, without a doubt, no.
I was just like, how? Why? How is this occurring? Why is this occurring?
Nuttall says she trusted the Minnesota Magic.
I'm really angry with John Sherman for allowing Matt Ricker to continue being part of Minnesota Magic because he knew about these charges and still allowed him to be a part of the organization.
What would it take for you to pull Matt Ricker permanently from coaching?
At this point, I'll have to evaluate. I'll have to talk to other members of our club. I will have to make a decision for the best of the organization, for the best of the children that we serve.
Sherman is the only person who has oversight of the coaches on the Minnesota Magic. They are not affiliated with AAU or USA Basketball. That means they're not required to follow the Safe Sport guidelines. But again, Those guidelines are widely considered as best practices for all teams to follow. I tried to reach Matt Ricker multiple times for this story, calling him and even going to his home. He didn't respond. But shortly after those attempts, I did receive a phone call from a person claiming to be a friend of Ricker's. He told me the coach would not comment. Kirsten Swanson, 5 Eyewitness News.